What is up, fighters? People keep asking me to do a video about team comps, and I think this is probably the best way of talking about the most common and successful ones in Season 6 at the moment. Make sure you leave a comment or what you guys use the most to be featured in a future video. So we're going to kick this off by looking at 5 different comps: early pressure or win lanes, split push, pick comps or that kind of assassin style, team fights or wombo combos, and poke comps. We're going to go into what they are, how you play them, the kind of champs you'd use for them, and their strengths and weaknesses. So the first one, early pressure or win lane win game, is something that has become way more effective in Season 6 because of these like paper towers and how early we group now. This has been around forever. It's the most simple comp you can run. It requires basically no major strategy or coordination. So why does it actually work? Well, basically we're picking strong laners, so you come out of lane ahead, but actually a big key is even though you come out of lane strong, your opponent should come out weaker than normal. If this happens in every lane, or even just 2 out of 3 lanes, then you're stronger as a unit. You group and take towers, take dragons or baron, and basically pressure before the enemy team can recover. This is what we're seeing most of the time now. This is why games are faster. If we get a lead early, then we group and the enemy team can't really stop us taking things and getting more gold. There are loads of different champions that work in each of these comps, but I'm going to give you examples of champions that would fit this to give you an idea. All of these champions here are strong in the lane phase. They're designed to win lane, not just go even, and then when they're ahead they have a really strong mid game. So what is good about this one? In theory, right, this comp is the best for solo queue because it requires no synergy at all and very little counterplay. If you all get ahead in lane, then there is very little the enemy team can do to come back into a game. The downsides though are if you screw up the lane phase, then it is harder to come back into the game. Like there's no inbuilt teamfight advantage or anything to fall back on. The other thing is, just because we're picking strong laners doesn't mean people will actually win their lane, right? Players are not equal skill, and sometimes, well, a lot of the time they do screw up. Split push is the next one we're going to look at. I just covered this in my easy and choosy way to win a game video, and if you haven't seen that, then I am going to link that on screen or down below because that video goes into this in more detail. Split pushing has been around for a long time, but it's even better in Season 6 because there are more ways to do it now. There are 3 kind of ways I think it's most effective. So first is the Banner of Command and ZZ Rot Portal. These items are amazing for pushing side lanes. They create chaos and it's very hard to deal with. All you have to do is put them in a lane and group somewhere else on the map. The second one is the old traditional take TP. You go bot lane, rest of the team sits at Baron, and when someone comes to stop the split pusher, they TP in and you take Baron for free. The last one is the more champion reliant one. You pick an amazing 1v1 champion who can sit in a lane and just push because nobody on their team can stop you. For the champions, let's go over each way. I guess the ZZ Rot and Banner strat is best with a tank that doesn't really need items, so he has high base damage and high defenses naturally. The TP strat is best known for like a Shen, right? That is the dream scenario, but most AD top laners can do this as well because they're pretty good at pushing towers. The 1v1 version of split push are the famous split pushers like Jax, Fiora, Zed, anyone who can push fast and kill things quickly. The biggest strength of this comp is that they're very hard to deal with. Like you need the right champions really and knowledge to shut it down, which is tough in solo queue. I always say that you want to be in the driving seat to win a game, right? You want to be proactive, but here we're actually forcing them to make a move, otherwise they're going to lose to the split pusher anyway. So it takes a lot of the pressure off of us. The problems with this are like if the split pusher gets behind, then it's useless because they can't do their job. Except really the ZZ Rot and Banner version, I guess, that doesn't matter if you're behind. It's also harder to play than most other comps because you need the 4 other players to be on the same page and not fight without you. The third one is going to be assassins or pick comps. This requires you to be proactive a bit more than the others, and it's slightly riskier, I guess, but it is really effective. The idea is you pack your team with a ton of damage and then you catch people before a fight, or you just blow someone up at the very start, immediately turning it into a 5v4. In general, this revolves around roaming a lot, kind of the idea that nowhere on the map is safe. You ward or blue trinket deep into their jungle to see when they're moving between lanes, and then you just kill them when they're alone. This obviously is what assassins are great at. You get a lead, you roam around, and then you just kill people over and over. Right now, this is so good. Like a lot of popular picks have a ton of damage anyway, and you need that damage to burst someone fast before the rest of the team arrives to stop you. These are some example picks, but as long as you have good damage, you can't really go too wrong. You want to pick things that kill stuff and things that can lock them in place to like let your team kill stuff. These tend to be very single target focused, not major teamfight impact, just good at isolating one person. The best thing about this comp is it's like the ideal snowball. It's similar to the first one. You get ahead and you keep killing and catching people before they can recover. These champions all have relatively good damage with only 1 or 2 items, so they don't need much time to kick into gear or really be overly fed to make this work. The problems are if you don't get picks, then these tend to be weaker in a full 5v5. You can try to burst one person and try to win that way. Usually if you eliminate someone from a fight straight away, then it makes winning the rest of the fight easier. You do have to be proactive though. If you sit back and wait for team fights, then you aren't really setting yourself in a good place to win the game. So the fourth comp is Teamfight or Wombo Combo. This is the idea that lane phase doesn't matter too much because you have some kind of natural advantage in team fights that makes up for the lack of items or gold, I guess. There are 2 types, really. You can just have a really good team fight, or you can have some kind of special synergy. The Wombo Combo style is like an Orianna Malphite, right? It's where you have some of your abilities work really well together and make them even higher impact. A normal teamfight comp would just be things that have big impacts on their own, like a Mumu ultimate, Sivir ultimate, Gangplank ultimate. These aren't really a wombo combo, but they all do a lot in a team fight. To win with this comp, you want to just group up and create a situation where you can use the wombo combo or your team fight. A really easy example is just forcing fights around objectives like Dragon. Like either they fight you, which is what you want, or they give you the objective for free. If you're behind in the game as well, you just have to group, and when they come to take a tower, they either get smacked in the face by your team fight or they back off, and either is good for you. These are some champions for the wombo side and just general team fight. Now when you're thinking about this comp, just keep in mind that not everything has to wombo or work together, okay? You just need like 2 or 3 big ultimates and the rest can fit in wherever. The best thing about this comp is that it's pretty easy to play. You just group up together and then fight as 5. If you pull this off, it will do so much damage and crush when ahead, but even be enough to turn around a game when you're behind. The bad stuff though, if you don't group, which is kind of common in solo queue, then it doesn't work, and if you miss your ultimates or whatever that makes your team fight great, then you're basically boned. We've already said this a bit, but these champs tend to trade early game for a better team fight, so you need to not shit the bed early and feed. Last comp is Poke. This actually I think is the best one for solo queue in general, but not right now in season 6. Poke is so good because you in theory never need to fight. You poke them down before, maybe kill them, and then either engage or just force them away from towers and take them for free. There are 2 kind of variations. I guess you can either sit near objectives or towers and then poke until you want to fight and just like dive or something, or you use your poke as a zone tool. You force them away, you don't fight, but you keep taking objectives and stuff for free. That style of game is not that amazing when you have 0 communication and you're probably not on the same page. I know I just made it sound pretty crap, but it's still really good. You can carry games almost single-handedly if you manage to kill people before fights or lower their health enough. This is a big point. Like the key thing with this comp are the poke players. If they play amazingly well, then you will struggle to lose. Your mid and AD carry tend to be the key parts to this. They are normally what have the most poke damage. The rest of the team is either just there to support them, so engage or disengage. You want to engage when you poked enough, but disengage if they try to go nuts and get onto you before you get a chance to. As I said, in general this is very good for solo queue. If you play it right, there is little risk because you'll always in theory fight at a health advantage. It's hard to dodge poke anyway. You only need a few picks to actually win the game, and this is one of the comps where if you get ahead, you'll stay ahead because your poke hurts even more. On the other side, if you play it wrong and you don't poke first, even if you're ahead, you can still lose the fight. Heavy engaged teams and assassins will make this harder, and if you do get behind, you'll probably just get dived and pooped on a lot because you don't have enough damage yet. So that wraps up this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, share, but for now, let's go to the robots.